Okay, this is number 11, 12, 13. I think it's page 4 of the team review. Question 11. A picture 7.5 feet wide is to be centered on a wall that is 15 3/4 feet wide. How much space is there from the edge of the wall to the picture? Okay, that's nice. So there's a picture here that shows what's happening here. So the picture is 7.5 feet. Great. Well, I can just annotate this picture right here. This width here, the picture is 7.5 feet. Okay. Now, I also know that the wall is 15 3/4 feet. So the whole wall from this side all the way to here, this is 15 3/4. If I wanted to draw a sketch myself, I could just draw the wall here. That's the wall. And I know that this is, whoops, that's a little too long. Erase. So this length here is 15 3/4. And in the middle is a picture. And the picture is a different color. I'll use green. No, I'll use red. And because this is another known thing, the picture is 7.1/2. The question is asking, how much space is there from the edge of the wall to the picture? From the edge of the wall to the picture. So this is the thing that I don't know. Now I'll use a third color, my green. This is the thing that I don't know. This is the distance that I don't know. This distance here and this distance here. From the edge of the wall to the picture. Or on this drawing here, it's this distance here, I don't know, and this distance here that I don't know. These two people are trying to center it. They're trying to put it in the middle. Now, since I don't know the distance, I will give it a variable. I'll call it x. And that's also x. I also don't know that. On my sketch, I call this x, and I call this x. So, now I can make an equation. I know that the total equals 15 3/4. And I know that there are 3 parts to this equation. Something plus something plus something. I can see that there are 3 sections here. The first section, I don't know. That's x. The last section, I don't know. It's also x. The middle section is 7.5. 7.1/2. All right, now I've got myself an equation. I can go ahead and solve it. First, I'm going to make my equation, my balance line, so that I remember to do the same on both sides. So, step 1, I can combine like terms, x and x. So I have 2x plus 7.5. And a half is equal to 15 3/4. 15 3/4. So first I have to make 0. I've got 2x. I want to know what x is. I want to know what 1x is. So I have to make 1x plus 0. Step 1 is to make 0. I've got 7.5. I need to subtract 7.5 on both sides. I make 0 by subtracting or adding the opposite. 7.5 on both sides minus 7.1/2. All right, so now I've got on this side of my balance line, I still have 2x. And on this side of my balance line, I have 15 3/4 minus 7 1/2. 15 3/4 minus 7 1/2. This thing is not very good. Now for speed, I'm just going to convert 3/4 to a decimal. So this is 15.75 minus 7.5. This makes it a lot easier to subtract. I can stack them up. 15.75 subtract 7.50 equals 5, 2, I have to borrow 8, and that goes away and becomes 0. So now I have 8.25, or 8 1/4, remaining on this side. 8 1/4, or 8.25, equals 2x. But I want to know what 1x is, so I have to make 1. I make 1 by dividing by 2. Divide by 2. So now I know what 1x is. My last equation, I know that 1x is equal to 1x is equal to 4.125, or 4 1/8. So the distance between the wall and the picture is 4 1/8, or 4.125 feet. That is the distance, because that's, now I can double check that. 4 1/8 plus 7 1/2 plus 4 1/8 is equal to 15 3/4. Question 12. In a science class, a student was measuring the temperature of a solution during an experiment. The solution started out at negative 3.6 degrees Celsius. After 3 minutes, the temperature had increased, so that's positive change, by 15.2 degrees Celsius. After 3 more minutes, it had decreased, so that's going to be a negative change by 31.9 degrees Celsius. Then after 3 more minutes, it had increased again by 14.6 degrees Celsius. Again, an increase. So this is, here I have to have the starting number, the start, plus the change, and I'm looking for the ending temperature. The ending temperature, the end temperature. Well, the starting temperature is negative 3.6 plus the positive change of 15.2 plus the negative change of 31.9, and then again a positive change of 14.6 equals, this is the thing that I don't know, equals the ending temperature. Right, so now I have negative 3.6 plus positive 15.2 plus negative 31.9 plus positive 14.6. Since it's all addition, I can move things around. So I'm going to move my negatives together. Negative 3.6 plus negative 31.6 plus positive 15.2 13.2 plus 14.6. Okay, now I can add my two negative numbers. Negative 3.6 plus negative 31.6 is going to be negative 35.2 plus, now I add my two positive numbers. 15.2 plus 14.6 is 29.8. Now I have to subtract because I have opposite signs, so I have to subtract, and the answer is negative because the negative number has greater absolute value, so the answer is negative 5.7. There is the correct answer, choice A. Number 13, what are the correct steps to solve this equation? Well, I can look at the answers first, but I think I'll probably just get confused if I look at the answers first. So what I like to do is I like to take some scratch paper, copy out the equation, and try to solve it. 1/8 x plus 13 equals 25. Step 1, I have to make 0 by adding the opposite or subtracting. Well, I have plus 13. I'm going to do minus 13 on both sides. Now I have remaining, I have 1/8 x. 1/8 x is equal to 12. 25 minus 13 is 12. 5 minus 3 is 2, and then 2 minus 1 is 1. Now I have 1/8 x. I can make 1 by dividing or by timesing by the reciprocal. This is a fraction, so I'm going to times by the reciprocal. So I'm going to times by 8 over 1, times by 8 over 1. Now I have 1x, and 1x is going to be equal to 12 times 8 is 96. So now, what are the options here? Option A, subtract 13 from both sides. Yes, that's correct. And then multiply both sides by 8. Well, yes, that is what I did. Okay, so that looks like that's the correct choice, but let me check the other ones. Multiply both sides by 8, and then subtract 13 from both sides. If I multiply both sides by 8, what would I do with that 13? I think that might be kind of confusing. Then I'd have 13 times 8. No, I got to make 0 first, then I make 1. So this is trying to make 1 first and then make 0. So I don't like that idea. I think I need to make 0 first, then I make 1. Add 13 to both sides of the equation. No, because if I add 13, I've made it even further from 0. If I add 13 to both sides, I'd have 26 on this side. That's far from 0, so I don't want to do that. And the last one, multiply both sides by 8 and then add 13 on both sides. Yeah, again, that's trying to make 1 before making 0. I think it's important to make 0 first and then make 1 as the last step.